Welcome to the Powerful Marketers channel. This is the place where we share information, tips and insights to marketers and business owners. I am your lead host, Mari-Liis Vaher, and I'm here to talk with different people from different industries about the era of change we are in at the moment. And this is with the purpose to share insights and inspiration. This is a very special time we live in. The time of coronavirus has really changed the way businesses work a lot. It has everything to do with how we as humans adapt with the situations we are facing at the moment. And today, I am more than happy to introduce to you Dorota. She has over 30 years experience in managing human resources and designing leadership development programs all over the world. She has worked as an HR director in Europe, Asia, Middle East, and even Africa. She has helped organizations grow and achieve financial targets by sourcing right talent and building the right structures for the employees for years. Also, her experience covers large mergers and acquisition, restructuring, entering new markets, as well as designing people strategies for small startups in various countries, in various industries, like retail.
And in various countries.
And in various countries as well, in retail, food and beverage, construction, and also financial institutions. So I met Dorota thanks to the Global Business Owners Network, and I am very happy we met. I asked her today here to talk about marketing and human relations in the era of changes we are living in. So welcome, Dorota.
Thank you very much, Mari-Liis. I'm very happy to be here.
Could you please share with us your story as a beginning, as how or why HR happened to be your passion?
As probably it happened to many people, my career started by a pure coincidence. I was studying languages and I went to Asia and Middle East to study Chinese cultures and the language. So I speak Mandarin. And I started working for Pepsi with training department by coincidence. I simply came back to the home and started working there because I was simply headhunted and I loved the idea of being there. I didn't think it would be my lifetime career, but when I realized that I am learning a lot, I am enjoying the progress and the continuous advancements, I decided to stay in that career. But then at some point, I also realized that I am contributing to something big and important that makes big difference in people's lives. And that's where I fell in love with that career and decided that this is going to be the life for me in professional aspects for the rest of my life. I found different opportunities in different countries, like you said, and every time it felt like starting all over again. It was a very fascinating journey. So that's how I ended up with the people strategies and people career.
Wow, that's awesome. You speak Mandarin? I didn't know that.
Yes.
That's something else. But as you said, you have worked in different countries and even different continents. Is there a difference in people there, or are we still the same everywhere?
It's actually both. People all over the world work and want to be appreciated. They want to be treated fair. They want to be paid and rewarded for harder work, for bigger effort. They want to belong to something that means a lot to them. So these are the things that are the same all over the world, and these are the needs that human resources professionals have to identify and provide for. However, if you work for different countries in different parts of the world, it does look different. It can be very, very challenging to apply similar ways of running business and dealing with employees. So, for example, the fast pace of doing business that you see in Singapore or Hong Kong or in London, in Western Europe, that you don't see that much of in Middle East, for example. You cannot expect the same pace and the same way of thinking about time, pressures, deadlines in the Middle East. To some extent, there are efforts, and it's similar, but it's definitely not the same. So there are commonalities and there are differences, but that's what makes the job more interesting.
Oh, that sounds really interesting, actually, because I understand we are influenced by environment a lot, even in smaller groups, inside smaller groups.
We are all different, but then if you talk to a large group in a different part of the world where there is a different religion, different culture, where what we are used to having as Sunday as a day for prayer or taking a day off, in the Middle East it's Friday, and people start the week by going to work on Sunday morning. That's the beginning of the week. It's quite common for people in the Middle East to take 3-4 breaks during the day for prayer, and there are prayer rooms in each office. So when you're starting a new office, when you're building new premises for your company, you have to make sure that there is, the right facilities for accommodating that need and that part of the religion and the culture, which you would probably not think about in other parts of the world. So yeah, there are differences.
Yeah, it definitely is very interesting, and of course we understand that those fundamental needs like communication and change management and so on has huge impact inside the companies as well, right? Yeah. And but the way I see is that communication and marketing has also like very important role in creating this environment that can happen inside the like smaller groups inside the company. So how do you see the marketing and HR interdependencies inside one company, for example?
Yeah. Well, it's extremely interesting, to be honest with you, because HR is the part of the business that needs to be connected with every single other function. And with marketing, it's extremely, extremely important. It used to be that HR was the administrative and unimportant part of the business. Now HR is considered as an HR business partner. So we have to partner with everybody in the organization. And it starts with the strategy. If the strategy of the organization is clean and clear and everybody understands it the same way, then we very quickly realize that we are actually working towards the same goal, and we should be communicating and working together a lot more than we probably do. So with marketing, it's particularly interesting because your job and my job is about people.
Yeah.
You study the needs of clients based on psychology, sociology, finance, whatever else you take in consideration. And then you try to provide for the needs of the customers for the company so that in the end, the company is profitable. What we do is we also look at people. We look at people, meaning the employees who need to be selected properly, who need to be placed in the right jobs to provide for these customers that you are studying. So if you don't tell us what is your conclusion, what is your focus, what is your target, we will not be able to do a good job by providing the right resources and making it happen and making it possible. So the commonalities and the interdependencies are huge. But also we should, and we normally do, help each other. So the marketing skills and marketing tools should be used for the internal communication, for the employer branding, for the advertising of our recruitment needs, for building the reputation in the market. These are the marketing skills that we need, while you need us to provide the right talent and the right skills and capabilities to make it all happen. So I think it's very tight.
Yeah, I love the way you put it, actually, that it sounds like it's really is all about the people and the cooperation in between.
It is.
Yeah, I totally share this belief that we need to like market our business to our employees first, like inside the company, because
absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like too often companies forget about this internal marketing and its importance maybe.
Oh yes, oh yes.
Yeah,
The best measure is if marketing people are participating in HR meetings, and HR is always invited to marketing meetings, and they
yeah,
contribute to each other's decisions and way of working.
exactly. This is very important to work together. But I think now, especially in time of crisis, and we all come back to it because we understand that this communication and cooperation across the companies is really crucial at the moment. At least I hope it will remain this way. But the working environment has changed a lot lately, and communication and cooperation is a challenge for most companies right now, for sure. So, what do you think how the crisis have affected the HR work, for example?
Well, it's huge, and it's obviously, like you said, it's affected not only HR but it affected businesses. Some businesses have already disappeared from the market. Some businesses have put their operations on hold. Some businesses are actually booming during this crisis. And HR role in all these different scenarios is different, but I don't think it's easy in any of these scenarios. So, for example, let's start with the good scenario. The companies that are booming now is the food production, is the hygiene products production and distribution. We wouldn't survive the crisis without these two industries operating, smoothly and probably a lot more intensely than they normally do. All the technology, the communication, internet, everybody who sits behind it and makes sure that it works. This holds us together and keeps the world go round, right? So HR people in these organizations are probably very, very busy now. Trying to figure out what will be the future after the crisis, and how can we learn everything that we're experiencing now and apply it in the future for even better operations. But also how to keep the employees sane and focused, and not panic and not lose their sense of stability and sense of strong belonging and security. So these are the challenges in the companies that are actually experiencing a good scenario. The companies that are struggling, and obviously that will be the airlines, the construction businesses, financial institutions. This is the part of the business world where HR is struggling. Struggling is going through very difficult times, because they are now sitting in conferences and making tough decisions, whether to close parts of the business, whether to let go of hundreds of thousands of employees, whether to find alternative solutions. And I do hope that a lot of effort is going towards finding alternative solutions where employees will not lose their jobs, but will go for some kind of compromises that are temporary, and that will still protect them. Cutting jobs and closing down half of the business is very effective, but it's very short term. After the crisis, the businesses needs to pick up and continue, and with limited resources, it's very difficult and very expensive again to go back to the standard of operations.
Wow.
And yes, so these are still companies that are working on the survival strategy, on long-term plans. But companies where there is simply no hope anymore, who have lost their clients, they cannot produce their product, they cannot distribute and deliver it to anyone because nobody wants the product, or nobody can afford the product anymore. Those companies are already closing down. So for HR professionals, it's a very sad and very difficult time, because they have to let go of employees, they have to close the companies, they have to find a new job for themselves and figure out how will they manage their own future. So depending where you are, which industry, which part of the world, and how you're affected, the stress and the work has a different nature, but it's never easy for anyone. I don't think so.
I totally get that. So I see there's a big gap actually between those solutions in different industries.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I like the way you bring out those different aspects, because there are actually so many of them, the technical, the psychological, and the physical aspects. At once, it's like it's a way more to handle we would expect. And I even think that generations who are at labor force today don't have this experience with such a big crisis, because we haven't seen such a major economic collapse. So there's a lot we have to deal.
Yes, it also, this time is a huge test of quality of the leadership. You know, if the leadership team of the company was strong and had strong values that, you know, led them to building the culture of the organization, then these companies will probably survive. But if the leadership team was focused only on profit and didn't care much about the people, about the culture, about the unity and long-term perspectives, those companies will collapse much faster, I think. You know, leadership teams are now basically trying to figure out how to communicate with the employees and how to provide them with some kind of sense of security and keep them working. But that needs to be communicated in a very structured and a very clear way. The leadership teams are expected to have a plan. And if they don't have a plan, if they never really prepared for that option, if they never thought alike, if they never created a unity in their planning long-term, building the culture, then they will simply now fail, and the company, the people from the company will simply lose trust and will start looking somewhere else immediately, because that is very threatening feeling to see that leadership team doesn't have a plan and doesn't know what to do with us.
Wow, that's a big thing. But I think it is like that, because people will gather next to the strong leader, actually. So
absolutely.
But
and in times like that, you know who is a strong leader and who is not.
Yeah, and at the same time, you need to be inspirational and so on. You need to make sure that all the physical and physiological needs are met at the same time. So it's not easy. So there are many challenges and obstacles among business owners. Is there any other obstacles you see business owners are?
Yeah, I think that what is really necessary now for the business owners to display or to demonstrate is strong leadership, ability to make right decisions, communicate these decisions to the people, get them behind and get them cooperate with the leadership team, but also change management. It's the skill that has been taught and has been exercised in various business situations like mergers, acquisitions, growth of the business, entering new countries. Those are all change management skills, application situations. But now the companies have to either change or disappear, and change management skills on a very, very high level have to be applied very quickly. If you are a small business owner, it applies just as much, because nothing will be the same after the crisis. Nothing will be possible to do the same way through relationships, through word of mouth. Everything will be based on technology. Everything will need to be happening faster. Everything will have to be a lot cheaper. Everything has to be a lot more efficient. And in order to prepare for that new reality, they have to start implementing changes now. And if they don't have that skill, if they don't know how to start, then they better start looking for help and start building those skills to start applying them, because we just have a matter of weeks, months to survive.
Wow, it sounds like a lot of struggle and a lot of work, but at the same time, I believe that it is also a very good chance for every company to make it better again, or maybe even to start over. You know. So,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah.
Some companies will have to start over. Some companies will get away with implementing some changes, improvements based on the lessons learned from this experience. So in the end, I actually think that there's going to be a lot of very positive new ways of doing business. And I'm hoping that leaders will learn a lot and will start planning and building new businesses in a much more modern and much more creative ways. So yeah, a lot of good things will come out of it. But now is the time to start working towards it.
Of course, yeah. We all know that crisis could be the opportunity for the entire company to undertake new thoughts and implement additional measures for the crisis situation has revealed and so on. Yeah. But what do you think will be different now if we come back to HR and marketing related topics? I mean, if you think of hiring, employer branding, recruitment marketing, there are tools and techniques definitely that are also changing.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. It's we already started using a lot of technology, and even some companies, the most advanced ones, started using artificial intelligence and playing with the really, really modern solutions. I think that all that will be very accelerated and will be visible much more than before. So definitely the new HR will be relying a lot more on technology. People are already hired and fired on Zoom. So I'm not saying this is a good thing, but I'm saying it's happening. And the trick is to use it wisely. To use it where it really adds value and in such a way that it actually is better than using our own brains and senses and eyes and conversations, because sometimes the artificial intelligence can do much more and much faster for us when it comes to these recruitment or financial decisions in HR. But it still will require a certain amount of emotional intelligence. There still will need to be space for human factors, for emotional decisions, and for compassion, and for understanding some aspects that machines simply cannot understand. So it's about making the right choices now with applying technology and using shortcuts. So that's definitely number one. And number two, again, leadership, ability to influence people, ability to communicate with people in such a way that they will feel safe, they will feel dedicated, and they will want to work towards the common goal, the common idea, whether somebody is watching or not. This is the ultimate measure of the culture. If people behave the way you want them to behave when nobody's looking. So that takes humongous amount of work, communication, interacting with people in a very honest and open and transparent way, which not always is possible with technology. So what I'm talking about is practically catching the right balance and making sure that you use the technology, use the learnings that we are experiencing now, and apply them in a very wise and very careful way in the future.
So the environment is changing, but at the same time we come back to the roots, because the most important is, again, people. And
yeah.
Wow. I love that, actually. So, but what about the employer branding? I believe this will also change, right?
Yes. The employer branding obviously will be based on the culture. The culture is probably the thing that attracts potential clients, potential new employees, and keeps employees in place. And employer branding provided by the right marketing sources and the right marketing campaigns Again, it needs to be done through a lot of technology, but it will have to be done in conjunction with the HR strategies and the leadership teams. I don't know how you see it. Maybe you would like to share how you see employer branding changing.
This is exactly how I see this, that we really need to come closer. I mean, the HR department and the marketing department, because I see them working very, very closely, much more than earlier, because as you said, the branding will be based on culture, and we need to show this culture, you know. We need to be proud of this. We need to own it. So exactly. Those things will become even more important, I think.
Yeah. So I think that if there's one very big lesson that most of the companies will learn from this experience, is that those that had a very strong and very positive culture will survive easier and will survive and come out of it much stronger. Companies with very tough and insensitive leadership team that had weaker culture or no culture at all will not survive that well. So in the future, employees and clients will be looking for providers and for employers that have strong culture, strong leadership, and that will provide safety, security, and good quality and good value.
So those values anymore are not something called like soft skills of the leaders that are not so essential. Now they are like the most crucial things, I understand. So
absolutely.
So yeah, the new normal will come for sure, and maybe it is good for us also. But what advice would you offer today to our listeners, business owners and marketers today? Where should they start?
I think that they should do the same things as companies do. Companies now think about the future and try to prepare for tough times and for the day after the tough times are over. And I think that employees and business owners, employees of smaller businesses, should start thinking about what is the potential scenario that can happen to them. Because there are many different options. Some people will keep the job and will continue working in the same positions and will simply find the jobs maybe slightly different because the company will run in a different way. Good for them, and I hope that it will be majority. Some employees of large corporations will find themselves made redundant. Some employees will be asked to accept smaller jobs or bigger jobs, and they will need to adjust very quickly. So these people should start now thinking, how ready are they for these changes? What kind of new skills will be required of them in the new jobs? What kind of new environment they might be working? Some employees will be asked to perform the same job, but in a different country. And they will need to realize whether whether they are ready to move and accommodate that requirement. Or if not, if they want to stay, how are they going to survive? Are they going to look for another job? Are they prepared for it? Do they know how to look for a job? Do they know how to interview for jobs? Do they know themselves? Do they know their strengths? Do they know what can they offer to other companies? A little bit of soul searching and figuring out what are my next steps in case of A, B, C, D is essential for most of people right now. I have my own business, but I am preparing diversified, aspects of my own business. I am building new skills and looking for opportunities to develop another business with my new skills and in a completely different area. Because A, I might not be able to continue and be successful in this area, and B, I also want to do something more interesting. I want to continue having fun in my life. So that's the good scenario. But let's look at the worst case scenario. If people lose jobs, they will need to quickly figure out how are they going to start all over again. it is daunting. It can be very, very depressing, but sitting around now and waiting for the employers to tell them what the future will be is a waste of time. So I think that those people who know that anything can happen to them should start preparing now and start looking for probably some support, some help, where they can figure out how they can build a plan B and how they can start preparing for the new life. Because these scenarios will happen. I know that everybody is optimistic, and I'm very optimistic as well, but it's always safe to prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. And asking for help is not a bad thing. Asking for some advice or some coaching or some assistance in figuring out new options is probably the wisest thing, because when we are trying to resolve our own problems, we very often get very tangled in the issues and can't resolve them. So asking for help, asking for assistance, and developing some structures and some plans, some strategies for the new life is the right thing to do now.
Yeah, I totally agree. But at the same time, I also see that this can be also the asking for the help and finding the ways to learn can be daunting, as you said, because people are overwhelmed at the moment also with the new information that is coming. It's so much out there.
Yes.
But I think it is a good advice to lead the change inside the company and inside yourself by certain patterns, by learning, not just jumping from here to there, trying to do like everything or learn everything. You don't need everything at once, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So it is a fact that no one really knows what will happen in the near future. So, but Dorota, if you could really predict what will happen in your area of expertise, what do you think the work organizations will look like in HR departments in general after 1 year?
I think and I hope that only the strongest and the best companies will survive, meaning the companies that have good product, very ethical way of doing business, very strong culture, and who share very human and environmentally friendly values. If these companies survive, I hope they will be able to hire and keep a lot of people in great jobs, and business life will go on, and they will be able to provide for all of us, and they will create a very nice labor market, and HR people will come up with new solutions and make these companies even greater. The rest of the world will probably convert into small businesses, into much more entrepreneurial business environment. I think we will be seeing a lot of people opening up their own businesses and trying to create networks of small businesses that support each other. The last thing that I think people should do is to try to survive on their own by building their own little business and not connecting with others. So there will be new models, new strategies for providing for the needs of society in a much more individual and much smaller scale, but probably much more effective, because they will be really focused on the basics, and they will probably be able to make the living in a much more happy and satisfying way. There will be a lot more freelancers. There will be a lot more people who will be working half jobs, who will be sharing jobs, who will have 2 jobs, but on a smaller scale. We will see the whole new variety of small businesses and small companies that provide different services, while the strongest and the best companies will continue growing the business in their own fields.
Wow, that sounds very, very interesting. So maybe we should meet here again after 1 year to discuss what has really happened.
That would be fascinating. Yes, absolutely.
Wow. Dorota, if there is someone watching and listening to us right now who wants to contact you, what would be the best way to do that? Where can they find you?
They can find me in Spain. So the best way is obviously to call me. I am always available on the phone, and my number is 0034 for Spain, 647-572-478. But I also have a website where people can have a look at my background, at what I offer, what are my experiences and possible ways of helping people. And that can be found on www.talentsolutions, as one word, .international. I also have a small profile on Facebook, but that one I just started a few days ago, so it's not very popular yet. There is a link to it from my website, so if somebody wants to find me, definitely will find me by clicking Talent Solutions International on Google, and I should pop up.
Wow, that's perfect. Dorota,
I'll be very happy to see a lot of people interested in contacting me, and I'll be very happy to help anyone who would like to just toss different ideas and figure out, how can they approach the future. And I'll definitely do my best to help everyone who will contact me.
Wow, that sounds a great opportunity to work with you. So
thank you.
Dorota, it really has been a pleasure for me talking to you here today. So thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and here today. And I know already that it will be much appreciated by many people. So thank you, Dorota. And
pleasure is mine. Thank you very much, Mari-Liis. It was a real pleasure.
And I wish you all the best.
Thank you. You too.